All right, what's going on, boys and girls? So, welcome to a new segment. We're going to be looking at native Linux games, and we're going to do this weird thing that everybody else seems to not do when their channel talks about Linux gaming, and that is actually review the damn things. So, we're going to take a look at one of my favorite games. I'm not going to make any quorums or TLDRs. This is one of my favorite games on Linux, on any platform. This is your review. This is my take. This is the pro cons of the game Decks. So how do I even go about describing this game to anybody who has not played it? You look at the trailer for it and it's hard to explain. So the best way is going to be a long string of words. It is a 2.5D side-scrolling open world cyberpunk action RPG. Now, if you normally would take all of these and cram them together in that way, it would sound like a train wreck of a game. But somehow it's pulled off magnificently. Now there are pros and cons like with every other thing. I'm not doing scores, but there's pros cons to this. So I want to get into what I love about this game. So for the pros, graphics. This has a 16-bit like Metroid Castlevania art style that it goes for, and it actually helps the game. The aesthetic, it's very cyberpunk. Neon lights, dark, dirty corporations that are, when you go to a corporation building, it's very sterile, it's very clean, whereas the rest of the world is dark and dungy and dirty, which ties into the atmosphere of the game. The game does this weird thing. It treats the player as an adult. Everything from the themes to character interaction. There's no go here waypoint system. So you actually have to explore. They encourage you to explore by doing this. Side quests. There's tons of side quests. This game has a very lived-in atmosphere. It's dark, it's dirty, it's lived in. Everything is active and moving, and even in this 2.5D movement structure, it works magnificently in the atmosphere, in the way the game treats you, and the aesthetics. It all ties together magnificently. Next up, we have customization. Customization is a great part of any RPG. So you have mods you can install on the main character so that you can double jump, so that you can breathe in poisonous atmospheres, make you immune to electrical attacks, make you immune to make you invisible. There are so many different ways and mods that you can use to enhance your character. So next up, we have the story presentation. The gist of the story is you play a blue hacker heroine named Dex, and really it's Matrix. You are the one. You can hack without actually being jacked into the network via insert Ethernet cable. But what makes the story different is that all the side quests that go along with the main quest and help that lived-in world, actually they're not just simple fetch quests. There's cause and effect to how you approach them, to how you do them. And the main story presentation is done in a Ashley Woods Metal Gear Solid motion comic kind of way. And if you've ever seen any motion comic stuff, that's how it's presented. Next up, we have music. I love the music in this game. Best soundtrack fucking ever. I am a big fan of video game soundtracks. To me, the soundtrack nails the cyberpunk vibe so well that you can take and strip out the soundtrack in Blade Runner 2049, drop this soundtrack in, and it would fit to a T. It would fit perfectly with that Blade Runner movie. That's how well it is done. So if you get the chance, there's a soundtrack that goes with this game. So next up, we have the voice acting. The main character, most of the side characters, all the NPCs are all voice acted. And they are all done fairly well. There's one character that I'll get into, but the rest of the voice acting is well done. I have no complaints in that regard. So one of the main features of the game is one called AR. It's a cyberspace hacking kind of mini game, but it's a twin stick shooter. And there are elements that you can do, like you can hack turrets that turn them from attacking you to attacking your enemy, that you can do while in the real world. So this overlay happens and you'll get round icons that you have to defend within that frame, and you can turn those turrets, but it's done in a twin stick shooter way. It's a very big important part of the game and part of the gameplay, but overall it's cool that mechanic can help or hinder you in the real world, because if you fail that hack, you end up actually taking brain damage, like you get a surge overload essentially. So it's really, really cool that they implemented those things. So let's get into the cons. One of the major cons is actually one called Tony. He's a support side character, and the voice actor the way the character is voiced and just overall caricature is one you want to like strangle, even though he's helpful. It's the way he sounds, the way he talks. It's just, it doesn't coalesce well with the I get what they were trying to do with him, but it just doesn't work in the context of the overall story. Combat. You notice I didn't touch on the combat in the game. Combat is very punch, kick, guns, basic takedown, basic stealth. There's not a lot to the combat of this game. The sound for the combat is like a wet noodle hitting you upside the face. There's nothing to it. There's very dud, whoosh sounds when it comes to like the fighting aspect of it. Guns are like on an 8-point axis for aiming. They've gotten a little bit better with the enhanced edition. Basic takedown, you can sneak up behind somebody, hit, I believe it's V or C, and you take them down with a stealth choke. That's basically the combat in the game. That's why things like the AR world affecting the real world actually matters, because you can plan it out a little bit better. Cyberspace, I already talked about it, AR, VR. If you do not like twin stick shooters, it may not be your cup of tea, because again, it's a very big part of the story and the gameplay. Let's touch on the main story. The main story is well done. The main problem with the main story is, if you've played any Cyberpunk, any of these type of games, big corporations rule the world, yada, yada, yada. That is Cyberpunk. So really at the end of the day, if you haven't played a Cyberpunk game, you might like it. If you've played it, you're going to call it cliche. And that's really what it boils down to. But from top to bottom, those are really my only cons with this game. Everything else, all the pros far outweigh the cons in this game. And this game lengthwise is about 10 to 15 hours, depending on how quickly you decide to burn through it, depending on how many side quests you do, if you want to try out different paths, etc. I've played full complete playthroughs of this game 4 to 5 times. I have about 52 to 53 hours right now in this game. So if that doesn't tell you how I like this game or how I view this game, do I view it as a purchase? Yes, I do. Purchase this motherfucking game motherfucking right now. There is no other way to put it. This game is great. I love this game to no end. The artwork, the art style, the sound, magnificent. And the fact that you can actually usually get this game fairly cheap, like I'm talking 99 cents cheap, why wouldn't you get this? Even at the $20 price tag that it goes for, get this game.